Welcome back to our Steven. I'm your host Steven, and I constantly worry about whether or not I am a jerk. But today, from buying the house next door to a friend, splitting lottery winnings, and sharing a spoon with your girlfriend, I've got some extremely interesting Am I the Jerk here questions. Starting with a post titled, Would I Be the Jerk? Mother-in-law creating AI photos of me. My husband and I have been together for 5 years. My mother-in-law has always been very into posting on Facebook. At least one post a day. She even used to post for my husband when he was a kid or teen. Very often, when we send her photos of ourselves, what we're doing, or anything noteworthy, they get posted on Facebook without our knowledge. Sometimes I'll go on Facebook and see photos I had no idea she had taken of us. She has around 2,000 followers but posts everything completely public anyways. It's always made me uncomfortable, but I never thought it was a problem before now. My husband and I have been busy with new jobs and haven't been able to make the trip to see his parents together since the holidays. He's gone without me, but I have an odd work schedule. Yesterday, I got a call from my parents asking if I had made the trip to see his family. Looking at Facebook, mother-in-law had created an AI-generated photo of us watching a football game with them, all in matching jerseys. This bothered my husband too, and he offered to text his mom and ask her not to create any more AI photos of us. I've always had a great relationship with mother-in-law, and she's always been very kind and understanding, so neither of us expected her to take that poorly. She did. She told us we were ungrateful for her, that we've always hurt her feelings when we ask for no pictures, and that we, and especially me, are too sensitive and should just let her post what she wants. My husband is also uncomfortable with the way she's acting and draws the line at AI photos, but says that we can deal with her normal posting habits. I thought I had a say before in what gets posted, but now I'm uncomfortable with the whole situation. Am I the jerk if I start telling my mother-in-law no to posting pictures of me outside of family photos and reasonable things? So I think the first thing to make clear is I feel like the AI thing is extremely creepy. It's one thing if you want to make an AI photo of yourself or people that, have consented to doing that. But I myself would like to be excluded from the training data as much as possible, thanks. I don't fault somebody like OP for feeling that same way too. It's like a weird level of invasion of privacy in a way. Even that aside, I think it's completely fair for OP to say, no, I don't want my picture out there on Facebook regardless. I don't know, am I overthinking that part of it because it's supposedly just friends and family? Lil Angel Girl left a comment on the post saying, interesting that she took it so poorly. Strange that she creates AI photos and puts them on Facebook of you both. Is she trying to spice up her life and apply something that isn't? Or is she trying to make a point? You have every right to not have photos of yourself or AI generative photos put on Facebook that you've not approved or provided. That is a reasonable boundary. It feels as though you need to jump on this pretty fast or it'll get out of hand. Good luck. OP responded to the comment, info, yes. I was not expecting her to take it so poorly in any way. I forgot to include this in my original post because I was in a rush, but this convo ended in her unfriending all my close family and friends, so she could post whatever she wants, and I shouldn't have a problem with it. The only times we've asked her to take photos down prior were for almost spoiling a friend's surprise engagement by posting about it, and for posting confidential stuff from my husband's work. The bottom line here is, you want to be informed. And if you want to be informed when I post more Am I the Jerk Here stories, you can hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling out a worker's kimchi in the office fridge? Hi everyone, longtime lurker, rarely poster, but this has been bothering me for a few days. Apologies for any English mistakes as it's not my first language. Straight to it, me and my colleagues share an office fridge, and there have rarely been any issues up until recently. A coworker brought in, a few days ago, a bag of kimchi. It's not homemade as it's stored in the bag it's sold in, one that my coworker has then closed with a little claw clip thingy. Those things that they sell at IKEA. It will be relevant, as well, it is not hermetic at all. Now, to preface, I have nothing against cultural foods because this is what I've been getting in terms of criticism, and I absolutely love Korean food, kimchi included. The issue is that godforsaken kimchi bag has been in the fridge for about a week, and the fridge now reeks of kimchi. Normally an issue I can deal with, except now the taste has started to get into the other food stored there, if you know what I mean. I have a couple of kiwis in there who now vaguely taste like kimchi. Same for my sandwiches and my cold brew that I make. Worst of all, it's gotten into the fancy butter that I like to keep there. Hence, I put a post-it note on the fridge saying, "Can the person who brought in the kimchi eat it or throw it or store it better? As it's now causing odor and taste problems for other items in the fridge, thank you." I tried to be straightforward and neutral, describing a problem so it could be fixed. I've now been accused of being culturally insensitive, disrespecting my coworker's origins, and making her feel bad / put on the spot. She is Korean, but I never assumed she was the one who had brought the kimchi in and never targeted her directly. Again, I had truly no bad intentions behind it. A few years ago, we had a similar issue with a very stinky cheese. The office is in France. Someone put up a similar post-it, and it was swiftly dealt with, no issues. I think I'm not the jerk, but some people in the office are saying that I should apologize to her and that I was in the wrong. You know, this is one of those groupthink things where one person raises an accusation of, "Oh, you're a racist," and then everybody else, without even thinking it through, immediately latches onto that proposition, and all of a sudden you have a crowd of people all going, "Oh, OP, that's just so out of line, how could you?" And because these people have latched on to the other person's opinion, even if OP points out, "No, it's not because of the food, it's because of how long it's been in there," they would still likely turn around and hit OP with the, "Well, you should see how it looks. I mean, it really sounds racist or something." Do you really believe that, Chuck? Or are you just saying it because you heard Dave say it first? I Am Legendary left a comment saying, "Not the jerk. However, over the last week, could you not have found out who owns the kimchi and talked to them? Most people are receptive to a conversation than being called out with a note." The OP replied to that comment saying, "Hi, I thought about it, but the office is very big. Something important to note is that we share a common cafeteria with other departments, and we rarely interact / barely know each other. I also thought that putting the note there would give the person privacy and would cause less drama. Also, frankly, I don't have the time to go chasing people around asking if it was their bag." DM Mobile left a comment saying, "Not the jerk, but that doesn't mean you can't apologize for hurting your coworker's feelings. Sounds like a misunderstanding that a simple conversation could easily clear up. Have we really fallen so far as a society that people will not just talk to each other directly instead of everyone going through back channels?" So many of the posts on this sub are just like this one. "I don't think I'm in the wrong, but everyone else says I am, except I've not actually spoken to the person everyone says is upset with me. Just talk to the coworker. Stop this nonsense of never engaging with even the slightest bit of discomfort." OP responded to that saying, "I will talk to her tomorrow, but I would just like to preface that I wrote the note and thought nothing of it. For clarity, I signed it with a thank you, smiley face, my name." It is then that she started going around telling people she felt put on the spot instead of speaking to me directly. That also does bother me because a simple conversation could have avoided what I see as bad-mouthing, and now I am kind of peeved too. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to share my lottery winnings with my family even though I used the family numbers? I, 22-year-old male, recently won a decent amount of money in the lottery. Not a massive jackpot, but enough to be life-changing for me. Pay off debts, buy a small apartment, and invest a bit. Now for the context. In my family, there's been an informal tradition for years. On my grandma's birthday, someone usually plays lottery numbers based on important family dates. Birthdays, anniversaries, etc. Sometimes we play together, sometimes everyone plays on their own. There has never been an explicit agreement that if someone wins, the money gets shared. It was always treated as a fun tradition. This time, I played alone, with my own money, but I used those dates. To be specific, Grandma's birthday day, month and year, my dad's birthday day, and the day and month I graduated. I won. When I told my family at first, it was all celebration. Then the comments started. These are family numbers. Without the tradition, you wouldn't have won. It would only be fair to share, even just a little. Some relatives are genuinely struggling financially. Unemployment, debt, others aren't. I told them that I'm not going to split the prize because I paid for the ticket myself. There was never any agreement to share winnings. If I had lost, like I did many times before, no one would have reimbursed me. And money changes dynamics, and I don't want to become the family ATM. Not that I want enough to be called an ATM, but you get it. That said, I did offer to help in specific situations, like helping with a small debt once or twice, but not to divide the prize. This was seen as arrogant and selfish. One aunt even said I got rich off the family. Now, part of my family isn't speaking to me, and they're treating me like I betrayed everyone. My parents are split. They say I'm technically right, but that sharing would avoid conflict. Am I the jerk for not sharing the winnings, even though I used numbers tied to my family? Edit, why did I tell them in the first place? I didn't see winning as creating any obligation to split the money, so it honestly didn't occur to me that telling them would be an issue. I told them out of transparency, not to tease or mislead anyone. At the time, I genuinely expected them to be happy that the tradition worked for once, not to see it as something I owed them. I would have told them regardless, even if the numbers had been completely random. Now, after this whole thing and reading some of the comments, I'm not so sure I would. I think this goes to show that the very common advice of, if you win the lottery, do not tell anyone is just a very sound thing. Kind of like that meme that often goes around. If I won the lottery, you wouldn't know, but there would be signs. And then they attach a photo and it's just like a wall just decked out full of Shrek memorabilia or something. I would never say, but there would be signs. Vote Marvel left a comment saying, I guess the question is, would you have expected a share if anyone else had won? Plus, if this was a tradition, then how have no other family members played those same numbers? OP replied, it's arbitrary. There isn't a specific fixed set of numbers that belongs to the family. We usually just think of any meaningful family event and use the date. So I followed that same line of thinking when I used my graduation. Could have been somebody else's birthday date, wedding date, yada yada yada. These ad left a comment saying, not everyone will be happy for you. You learned a valuable lesson. Never talk about money with anyone. How many people want to share? OP replied, 5 out of 7 aunts and uncles on dad's side of the family. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not eating the food after my girlfriend eats out of the bowl with the same spoon while preparing? I, 25-year-old male, was having dinner with my girlfriend, 23-year-old female, last night, and she was preparing a salad. As I was grilling the chicken, she was repeatedly eating out of the salad bowl with a spoon and putting it back in the bowl, mixing around and such. This is a common thing that we've talked about before. I find it gross and bad manners to eat out of serving dishes and put your used utensil back into the serving dish other people are expected to eat out of. Her family does it for almost every dish, and if I see it, it grosses me out. I once again asked her to stop or to make herself a bowl and eat out of that rather than the community dish. She got bent out of shape, dismissed my concern, so I ignored it and carried on cooking the chicken. When it came time to eat, she tried to serve me salad with the same spoon she was eating off, and I politely declined. She then starts pestering me why repeatedly. In attempts to stop a fight, I continue to cop out saying, I'm just not in the mood for salad, and other excuses, until she finally asked me enough to where I reiterated my concern that her reusing her dirty spoon in the bowl turned me off from eating it. She then played the victim about how she spent so much time preparing it for me and that I was being dramatic. She then left me with, if you don't like that, you would have hated to watch me make the rice, which I'd already eaten and now made me feel unsettled. I was extremely frustrated in this situation because I feel like it's a valid concern and general manners to not repeatedly eat from a dish others are going to eat from. Furthermore, I felt in a position to be forced into eating something that grossed me out just to validate her feelings while disregarding mine. I'm not bent out over a bite with a clean spoon or cutting off and nibbling on little pieces of dinner while preparing dishes. I just get grossed out by dirty, wet utensils being mixed around into the clean prepared food everyone is going to eat from. Am I the jerk? So I will admit, I am sometimes a pretty germophobe guy with some specific things. I certainly get where they're coming from. However, only just solely for me alone If it was my girlfriend, I probably wouldn't care all that much, just being honest. And to compound on that, I'm the kind of person that if you have a drink with a straw, I wouldn't want to share that with anybody. Tell me I'm wrong to my face every time. I wouldn't let my own mom drink from my straw. I mean, I could. I would live with it. I wouldn't just give up the drink, but there's just an irrational thing in my mind. However, if it were my girlfriend, I think that's the one person I would make an exception for. I also, because it just irks me and I have to point it out, feel like it's kind of disingenuous that OP's wording every chance they can in the story is everyone is going to eat from. It's just OP and their girlfriend, but OP is taking every chance they can to say everyone, as if there's a communal line lining up to eat the girlfriend's, you know what, I realized how that was going to sound, salad. Daisuno Dixon left a comment saying, "So you lie to her several times instead of just telling her the truth to begin with? Exhausting." The OP responded to that saying, "Glad that's what you got from this. I stated my concern in the process of her eating out of it. 10 minutes later, when she tried to serve it to me, reiterating my point and starting an argument would be exhausting." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not enjoying the birthday gifts my friend got me that mocked my dead mother? Hi Reddit, I'm posting this on a throwaway account due to some of the people involved using Reddit. I'm rewriting this post because the one I initially wrote would have been too long, so I'm going to summarize the series of events as best as possible. I, 20-year-old female, lost my mother 8 months ago suddenly. I have experienced a wave of emotion as I had a weird relationship with my mother and a lot of unsaid things. I did not get to say goodbye to her, which pains me every single day. I have a large group of friends, some from high school and some from uni, who have all supported me tremendously. One specific friend, Kayla, I met in uni. I would not consider her my best friend, but she has been such an amazing support to me throughout this whole situation with my mom. She always told me that I could come to her for anything and would even pull me aside during social events to make sure I was doing okay. Yesterday, my birthday, Kayla and a group of other friends came over unannounced with party decorations, snacks, and even cake. I felt so seen and loved in this moment. This lasted up until my friends brought gifts they had bought. I opened 2 gifts before opening Kayla's. It was a large box. I opened it with a huge smile on my face, and my friends all looked excited for me to see what was inside. To my shock, there was a mug and a hoodie. Both had a large, bold font saying, "Motherless behavior." I was in so much shock I excused myself. I ended up calling it a night, and they all left, Kayla muttering, "It was supposed to be funny," as she passed by me to leave. This morning, I woke up with text from some of my friends at the party reassuring me Kayla had no ill intent, and then I saw Kayla messaged me. The message was lengthy, including many messages saying things like, "It was of good intent, you embarrassed me, I was trying to lighten the situation." One message in particular that Kayla sent had gotten to me. This message said, "After 8 months, you should be able to accept your mom's death and joke about it. You're self-sabotaging from holding on, and it's ruining your friendships." I felt so sick. This question is making me wonder if I truly am the jerk and if I should be over my mother's death. This isn't coming from me, but from all of the perspective I've gained from people commenting on stories here, from the Reddit posts themselves, people commenting on the Reddit posts. No one person's grief is truly alike another's. There's no expiration date on grief. I think there are stretches of time in which you need to probably seek additional help if it's gone on for so long or if it's been so destructive. But 8 months after she passed, on your birthday, and it's not even like OP's moping around, it's because they joked about their mother being gone. How could OP possibly be in the wrong here? Jimmy B left a comment saying, "A few years ago, I lost my father. My family and I joke about my dad's passing. The DDP, dead dad pass, but we started the joke. It wasn't a random friend who had decided we'd grieved enough. If someone had given this to me 8 months after my father passed away, I'd probably have punched them." The OP responded to that saying, "I'm sorry for your loss. In regard to the jokes, I have stated to Kayla and the rest of my friends that opening up is incredibly difficult for me, and they knew it was a super vulnerable topic. If it was a joke we had said was appropriate, this would have been a totally different story." Our next story is, am I the jerk for buying the house next door to my former friend? I, 30-year-old male, used to be friends with a woman, 30-year-old female, who I met at university. We were that close that we were hanging out every day and got to know each other. We had a falling out as she stole a piece of my academic work, and I faced an investigation from the academics and staff from higher up. While we were friends, she told me she was from X town, and I told her I'm from Y town, both seaside resorts. I was shocked that she was from X town because my mother went on holiday there every year, and I scattered her ashes there when I was 19 after she lost her battle with breast cancer. X town is a really popular and sought-after area in England. Prices can go up to $800,000 for a 3-bedroom home and doesn't come by that easily. I searched the town on a real estate site to see if any properties had come up for sale, and there was one going for $325,000. However, this property was so affordable because it needed modernizing and renovating. This property was also in a perfect location. It's by the seaside. I can go on long runs on the beach every day, which I do for my mental health. It's a 5-minute walk from where I scattered my mom's ashes. It's an 8-minute walk to the train station. I can get the train to central London. I work here 2 days a week and so forth. It's cheap to live in this area. I didn't step inside my property until after New Year's Day because there were a lot of jobs builders needed to do. After New Year's Day, I got to work doing the renovations I can do. A few weeks ago, an Amazon van pulled up to drop off packages. Next door wasn't in. He asked me if I could drop off a package. I saw the name, realized I'm living next door to my former friend as it's a unique spelling, and said no. Ex-friend has now found out I live next door to her and her parents and banged on my door, causing a commotion. All the neighbors came outside. From speaking to relatives, I'm apparently a jerk because I won't move house. I guess I'm probably a jerk for letting there be tension in the street, but it doesn't bother me that I live next door to her. As far as I'm concerned, I've moved on from this incident with her. It's in a dream location, and I refuse to move at all because one person is unhappy. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk, but I think they're probably still going to have a pretty rough time with their neighbor. I don't really know how it works in England, but I would be trying to build up some kind of case. The bottom line is, you don't have to interact with your neighbor. Just because you don't like each other doesn't mean that you have to acknowledge each other. Just live your harmonious, adjacent lives and don't worry about each other. Tyler in the North commented, not the jerk either way, but I'm curious what the outcome of the investigation was and what punishment she faced. OP responded to the comment saying, I was the one being investigated for collusion and academic misconduct. In the end, from my past notes, I was able to prove it was my paragraph, but she didn't get into any trouble at all. She stayed on the course and graduated. I remember it caused a great divide between our cohort. Grandma M left a comment saying, not the jerk, but cameras and fences are your friends. OP responded, getting cameras fitted internally and externally tomorrow. Luckily, there's an alleyway detaching our houses between us, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. OP also added in a comment, the reason I didn't take parcels is because the house is not ready to be lived in, as builders still are working on it. As of January, it's safe to go into the house, but it's not in a livable condition. I currently live 2 hours away from that address as I'm staying with relatives whilst building work is going on. She wouldn't have gotten her parcel for a few weeks. That's why I didn't accept it. I'm someone who doesn't order things online. I buy them in person from local businesses. I don't take in packages for any neighbor because it's unlikely I'll be back in said property for quite a while. Our next story is, would I be the jerk for not leaving the house for one weekend as requested? Hello, I need an outsider's perspective on this. I try to be understanding, but I am fuming. I think someone who's not living in this apartment would have a more neutral view on this. The situation, we live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 3 parties. We're all students and pay equal amounts of rent. I am Winston, and the other 2 are Josh and Sarah. Josh spends half his week and most weekends at his girlfriend's place. He's mostly out of the picture. That just leaves Sarah and myself. For me, I see this as a living arrangement because it is. I am friendly with everyone, but I keep some distance. I usually spend my days in the library, lectures, or at home gaming. Door usually open, unless I play with friends or have my girlfriend over. So yesterday, Sarah approached me with a request, but it felt more like a demand. Her brothers are coming to visit, and since her family doesn't know she's living with two guys, she's coming from a Muslim family who might see this as a big deal, she wants to keep it a secret. She is asking me to leave the apartment next weekend and move all my toiletries into my room. The problem for my side is simple. I don't have a place to go. I'm not asking my girlfriend to spend the weekend at her place. She's visiting her family this week, and I won't be back until next week. We're not at the stage of the relationship where this is something reasonable to ask. If the roles were reversed, I would probably say yes, but feel very awkward about this. So I told Sarah that. Where am I supposed to stay? Sleep in the library? She kind of dismissively turned around and told me, "That's your problem to solve." That attitude right there ticked me off beyond words. I'm in a pickle. On one hand, I am livid. I want to tell her to mind her own business and just deal with the fact that she has male roommates. But Josh, who is closer with Sarah and agreed already to spend the time away, reminded me to have an open mind about her situation. I don't feel like spending 150 to 200 euros, money that I do not have, on a hotel when I'm paying rent. But Sarah already told me that she expects me to solve it by myself. She won't pay for a hotel, which leads me to the question, would I be the jerk if I tell Sarah to just suck it? On a different note, with this happening, I'm already starting to look for a new apartment. This is not the first unreasonable request, but the previous ones were tiny in comparison, like asking me to please store my toothbrush in my room because she doesn't like neon yellow as a color, gives her headaches every morning, ended up buying a new brush early. Update 1. Thank you for the replies and some DMs I've received. I have decided on a plan of action. I will tell her no. I will tell her that I don't have the money to pay for a hotel, that I don't have a place I can simply crash on. I'll also have Josh sit in. I've posted a message in the group chat, effectively calling for a meeting tonight. I will explain my situation calmly and why I don't intend to leave on my own dime, that I'm happy to play a role in this family visit, to actively show that I have no personal ties with Sarah by minding my own business. I like the petty ideas, but I'm not the type of person to pour gas onto the fire. Furthermore, I've put out feelers to look for a new apartment with some friends from university. One friend is looking to move out from his parents' place, and we get along fine gaming. I think this is at the point at which the drama is getting too expensive on my mind, so a clean cut is the best option. Update 2. This has taken a sour turn. I requested the sit down. Sarah took this as a no on my part and texted a long rant on WhatsApp. To simplify it and translate it to you from German, I'm not going to let you ruin my relationship with my family. If you don't want to leave, you can pay for the hotel, and I expect you to move out by the end of January. The cherry on top, Josh just posted a thumbs up, so I also got a few things moving. I contacted the landlord about my lease. I asked him for his permission to use him as an emergency contact in case Sarah tries something funny like changing the locks on me. He flat out told me to call him first if that happens, because then he will call the police. We have a shared lease. We are each listed as tenants, and he needs to approve changes to the lease. So I'm currently on the bus with my most important documents, and I'm storing them at my girlfriend's place. I explained the situation, and she gave me permission to store some of my things. But she also said that her roommate would not appreciate a guy suddenly sleeping over when she herself is not there. I am worried about what else is to come, but I'm following the suggestion and precautions texted here and in DMs. I'm preparing for a storm. Update 3. Yesterday evening, I went on the offensive. The drama unfolded quite predictably. The advice from the comments here were very helpful on what to brace for. I told Sarah no. I told her that even if I wanted to, I don't have the money for a hotel. And since I'm paying rent and don't have an alternative, I will stay. Sarah was upset. She yelled at me how selfish I'm being, demanded again that I move out by the end of the month. I responded that I will not do that. That I would start looking for an apartment, as I'm too sick of the situation here, but that I will use the time I legally have to look for a new apartment. This turned into a circle argument that this is not about legal BS but a matter of principle. In the end, I made my point clear. I will move out eventually, but I also made it clear that I would take my utilities, like the coffee maker I bought and everyone is using, and a greater jab, the washing machine is mine. Theirs broke down a while before I moved in. I bought one for my previous apartment and was happy to bring it. Didn't expect anyone to pay shares and put it in as community usage. This sparked another screaming match. Josh even tried to argue that as it's now communal property, I waived ownership, which is BS. Details to that are not important, just more of the same followed for almost an hour. Point is, my important documents are secure at my girlfriend's place. The landlord is in the picture, and I'll update him later today. I also documented the state of my property this morning. Still get the Amazon and electronic store receipts just in case for the community property. However, taking some notes from the more petty advice, I'll move the coffee maker to my girlfriend's place today. She loves this coffee maker, and I figure I'd rather make her happy than my roommates. I think it goes without saying that this whole thing is just a total cluster, you know what. OP can't get out of there soon enough. OP posted one last update in the comments saying, "There will be no more updates unless something groundbreaking happens. Just a small one from today. I already moved the coffee maker. In retaliation, I've received a charge on our shared expenses app, 12 euros for coffee with an attachment of a Starbucks receipt." I've been taking notes from the more petty comments. I connected a charge. Basically, the way the app works is that a charge can be updated. Person A says, "I want X for this." Person B says, "About this, I'll deduct Y for that," and deducted 12 euros for consequence taxes. Gotta love a good old consequence tax. And if you enjoyed that or any of the other stories here today and you want to hear more, you can check out another one of my Am I the Jerk Here videos on the left of the screen. Or if you missed my latest video, you can check out that video on the right. That said, I'm gonna go get some coffee now, and I'll see you all next time with some more stories.